I'm joined now by another eyewitness to the shooting of Michael Brown. Michael Brady joins us now from Ferguson. Michael Brady, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Could you tell us where you were when you first became aware that something was happening on that street?
I was actually in my bedroom, and I hear an altercation outside. I happen to look out the window, and I see an altercation, some kind of tussling in the window. And right after that, I actually just seen him just takes off from the vehicle. He also had a friend with him. His friend, he was actually like in front of the vehicle, like 5 feet away from it though, in front of the passenger side of the vehicle. And like I said, they both just takes off from the vehicle after the little tussle in the window. And they just takes off, and his friend runs behind a white two-door vehicle that was sitting off to the side. And the officer immediately just gets out the vehicle, and he just started shooting. So when he started shooting, he was actually taking large steps to Michael Brown that was at the window, and I noticed that he wasn't shooting at his friend because he walked past the car. So when he walked past the car, I noticed, that was my time to run out to the front door. When I ran out to the front door, that's when I turned my phone on. When I went outside, he was actually balled up, like he was hit in the stomach is what I thought. So as he was kind of balled up, he was going down actually. And the cop actually just shot out about 4 or 5 shots at him, and then he hit the ground, and that was it.
And when you say you saw an altercation at the car, was it already underway? Did you see it begin, or was it already happening when you looked at the car?
It was already happening.
Okay. And could you see Michael Brown's hands during that altercation?
Yes.
Where were his hands?
Most likely through the window.
Okay, through the window. And you just made sort of a punching gesture. Would you say, could you tell from your angle if Michael Brown was punching?
I really can't tell. I just know I seen probably the cop arm was probably doing the same thing. I just seen some arms going through the window, so that's why I was doing this. But most likely, I will say that Mike Brown arms was through the window.
And could you
maybe
could
the
you
cop arms?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Could you see the police officer's arms?
Yeah, I seen his arms moving also.
Okay, and the video that you recorded at that time, there's some we don't have the video ready to play. You gave it to us earlier. We appreciate that, but we got the audio of what you said on that video, and it begins with you saying he just got shot. He just ran up to the car. He ran up to the car. He was punching on him. Who was punching on who, or what did you mean by he was punching on him?
Well, like I said, when I first looked out the window and saw that, that's just what I assumed, that, he was punching on him, because that's not normal for anybody to be, at a cop's window. So I just assumed.
Okay, so was your angle on Michael Brown's back or at a spot where you could see his profile leaning into the car, his side or his back or his front or what?
I couldn't see his face while at the window, but like I said, he took off running. I seen the side, his whole side body just takes off from the vehicle. So basically I just seen the side of his face just running away from the vehicle. Okay,
and just to go back to this altercation, at that time, you saw the altercation that was punching or some kind of punching, and then Michael Brown runs away from the car?
Yes.
And did you hear a shot fired before Michael Brown ran away from the car?
No, that's what I didn't hear. Because like I said, I was still in the window while I was going on.
Okay, so you were inside, and so there was a window separating you from the sounds of what was going on out there, or some of the sounds?
Yes.
And at some point, Michael, in the middle of this, you lose sight of what's going on out there because as I heard what you said, you change your position. You go from that window to somewhere else. Did you leave the apartment and go outside?
Yes.
And how long did it take you to go from your apartment to outside? How much of the action do you think you missed during that move?
It wasn't long at all because I took some big steps, going to the front door, so I could really see what's going on. But like I said, from the time the officer gets out the car and I noticed that he went past his friend, that was the time for me to go outside. But that was probably less than 5 seconds, definitely. It didn't take long for me at all to get to the front door.
And had the officer fired any shots by the time you made your move?
I didn't hear that.
Okay. And what did you see Michael Brown do? You saw him run away from the car, and that's the last thing you saw Michael Brown doing before you changed your position was him running away from the car.
No, actually, the officer was already shooting. That's why when he immediately gets out the car, he just started shooting in his shooting position. And like I said, he passed his police cruiser and he passed the vehicle that his friend also ran to. So that was my time when I thought of he's not shooting at his friend, so he's constantly shooting at the person that was at the window. So that's when I took off to the front door.
Okay, and when you got out the front door, what did you see Michael Brown doing then?
When I gets outside, he was actually turned back around facing the officer. And like I said, I thought he was hit, obviously, because he's now turned around. And he was going down. He was bent over with his hands over his stomach, and he was going down on his knees. And like I said, it didn't even still look like that he was giving up. It just looked like he was going to go down and just bleed to death. But the officer, before he went down, the officer just lets out 3 or 4 more shots at him, and then that's when he hit the ground.
And so when you say you got to the front door and you saw him and he had his arms like that and he was going down, would it be fair for me to interpret what you're saying as Michael Brown at that point, do you think that did it look to you like he represented a threat to the police officer?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I really couldn't hear you.
When you came to the door and you saw Michael Brown beginning to go down, did it seem like he was in any way threatening the police officer as he was going down?
No. Like I said, he was already, 20, 25 feet away. So it didn't look like at all that he was trying to charge at him or anything like that.
So to be clear, are you saying when you saw the final shots fired, the police officer was 25 feet away from Michael Brown?
Yes.
And when the police officer stopped firing and Michael Brown went down on the pavement, how far apart was the police officer from Michael Brown?
I said within 20 feet.
Okay,
20,
so about 20 feet. Still a significant distance. Certainly a much longer distance that if someone who was unarmed was trying to harm you, if they're 25 feet or 20 feet away from you, you don't yet have anything to worry about, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted you to listen to something that another witness said on this program, Tiffany Mitchell, who approached that area in her car and watched the entire thing. She never had to leave the scene for a moment, as you or lose sight of it as you did. Let's listen, Michael. I hope you can hear it to what Tiffany Mitchell said. Let's listen to this.
As I come around the corner, I hear tires squeaking, and as I get closer, I see Michael and the officer like wrestling through the window. Michael was pushing, like trying to get away from the officer, and the officer was trying to pull him in. As I see this, I pull out my phone because it just didn't look right. You never just see an officer and someone just wrestling through the window. So as I pull out my phone, the first shot was fired through the window, and I just like try to get out the way. I pull onto the parking lot right beside where the cop car was, and that's when Michael like kind of broke away and started running down the street. The officer gets out of his vehicle and he pursues him. As he's following him, he's shooting at him, and Michael's body jerks as if he was hit. And then he turns around and he put his hands up, and the officer continued to walk up on him and shoot him until he goes all the way down to the ground.
Michael Brady, is that essentially what you saw?
Well, like I said, I really didn't see his hands up, but
right.
Like I said, he probably let me see, he like I said, I really didn't see his hands up, but like I said, by the time I gets outside, it just looked like I just thought that he was hitting his stomach, and he was already looking like he was going down. And the officer just lets out a few more shots. So I really did miss the hands go up on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, is that your only, I don't want to call it a disagreement because it isn't. It's something you didn't see that she saw, and it may have happened when you weren't looking, but is that the only difference between your stories at this point, do you think, and what you just heard?
No, I mean, my story definitely ain't gonna change. So that's what she saw, and
yeah.
I mean, and that's what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only difference is your choice of words on. You say altercation. That day you said punching. She says wrestling. Mm-hmm. Those are all pretty close. I just wanted to see if you heard anything that she said. I didn't hear anything that she said that differed substantially with what you said, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything there. Okay. Michael Brady, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. I know it was difficult there with the noise around you, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay.